Hello, everyone, and welcome to Longer and Harder, the show on the internet where we take a subject and we go deeper. I hope you all are having yourselves a wonderful, wonderful Sunday afternoon. Welcome, everyone. And we're gonna have to start off with a super chat. So, gotta do the things. Gotta have to start off with a super chat. So, thank you, Brian Rotation for a super chat. Oh my goodness, I'm a mess. I'm a mess. So I have apparently not set things up, but we do get to have some boobs for that. So we'll get that going. So thank you very much for your $5 super chat. Trying to tell off. Chat makes money. So there you go, Jelly. Chat makes money. That's just how it works. Let's see. Where are my things? God, we haven't done this in so long. I don't even know where things are. We will. I'll let you pick. I'll let you pick a number between 1 and 36. How about that? You pick a number between 1 and 36, and that's the booze that you get. Deep vibes, all the vibes. So, welcome. I hope you all are having yourselves a wonderful palindrome day. Welcome to palindrome day. It's a great coincidence. It's 020202. Did I get that wrong? 02022020. Goodness gracious, I got that wrong. And it's one of those days that I guess, no, regardless of whether you're doing it the right American way or the heathen way, it's still. I want butts, not boobs. We have those two. Where are they? I have to find them. Hopefully those will show up. But thank you very much. I do appreciate it. The $5. I think we do have butts. We'll let this one sort of ring. It should ring. I don't know. Maybe it's not the way it's set up. I don't know what's going on. You will get something. You'll get two of some things. I have to figure out. I know that there are butts because I do those things. I don't know what's going on with I don't know what's going on with alerts over here. This since I got the new computer set up, or not the new computer set up, since I had to reinstall all the windows and things. It's been a little. There we go. It's been a little bit on the fritz. Oh, and you do get butts. Oh my goodness, look at you, you lucky butt. You lucky butt. So, so thank you very much. I do greatly appreciate that. Very good. I heard that sound before. Good. So what do you do with the old Mac? The old Mac, my wife has the old Mac now. It's in her office. We're trying to set up her office, so that she's got a place to sort of do her things. Oh, shoot, I forgot my beer. I'm a little sad. I'm gonna have to go get that. So she can do her thing. So it's over there in her office. I'm reinstalling the OS on it this afternoon. So that's where it will be. So with that said, do we have anything else besides a welcome sign here? We got ourselves housekeeping. Do we have much housekeeping? It's not working at a farm upstate. There we go. We don't have much housekeeping. School is going. School's a thing. I'm busy and stuff. So I keep wanting to make videos, but I get school homework. Homework's a bitch. I did finish with a client that I had that was absolutely kicking my ass. And so I finally finished on Friday. So hopefully I'm kind of be a little bit less stressed out with doing that. And so so we'll be kind of all maybe more free up, and I will be less stressed out. So hopefully I can focus on. There's a couple of videos I want to do. Of course, have a debate video that I just need to record and edit. I have it written, and I got into a tiff with people on Twitter's about ABA therapy. So maybe that'll be a thing that I potentially. I found a documentary on it that's really bad. So we might get to that point where I make a video about that, because I got into a tiff on Twitters, and whenever I get on tiffs on Twitters, it's always good motivation to make a video. So that might be a thing. Micro is reminding me that we also have D&D. If you haven't checked it out, yesterday we went live for the first time. It was Microbloganism, myself, Jess, who doesn't have a YouTube. He's a Twitter dude. In Christy Winters, we are all playing together with Christiosity as our DM. So if you'd like to check that out, go check out Christy Winters' channel. That's where it was streamed yesterday. It was a lot of fun yesterday. We didn't do any combat yesterday. Just a lot of bickering between the players, which we have fun with. I'm gonna have to ask people if they have fun listening to us banter and bicker. So Christiosity is awesome. So it's been a game we have been playing it since October. I want to say September, October. and it's been us playing it, and then last week we decided we're going to try to stream it. So yesterday we streamed for the first time. The stream's still kind of, we're working out kinks on the stream and stuff. Christy Winters and I are going to work together to sort of make that a little bit better for everyone. So we'll work on it, but it was still a lot of fun. So if you want to check it out, that's definitely, if you want to check out more R&D content, or R&D just being a weirdo, along with microbloganism, that's a good place to check it out. So Christy Winters' channel yesterday. She also, I mean, subscribe to Christy Winter. She's fantastic. Subscribe to Christiosity. She's also fantastic. I'd say subscribe to Just, but they don't have a channel. And of course, Micro. So lots of cool people, lots of fun. We've been having a blast with that. So today, we have ourselves. I don't want to go into beer cocktail because I have a beer cocktail that I've already made, which is the one from yesterday. I left it in the kitchen, and I want to finish it so I don't lose it. So we might skip beer cocktail of the week for a little bit and then go back to it while I finish that, and just go right into the video options for today, and then kind of get to the beer cocktail. I've been drinking. It's pretty much, that was a very long, convoluted way of saying I've been drinking already. What happened to the debate series? So I want to finish it. It's just, one, those take me a very long time to make, and two, the passion for them is a little bit on the waning side right now because I've had such a big falling out with the anti-flat Earth community that I've had waning I've been waning an interest on that, so it's a thing. But we'll see. I still have scripts written, so they are there. It's just a matter of me not being a bum and getting things done. So with that said, video options for today. If you would like to talk about flat earthers, there's definitely at least one flat earther in this thing that we can talk about. So we have ourselves for today. We have, oh yeah, no, he's here. Get your damn beer. All right, I'm gonna get this. We'll get the voting started. I'll go get my beer. So thank you very much, Brian. I do appreciate it. All the donations today. It's fantastic. Thank you very much. Enjoy your boobs and tummy this time. Is it a smoked beer? No, we're still doing beer cocktails. I think we'll do one more beer cocktail and then we'll be all done. I also can't actually read the menu, so I have to look at boobs, which is just awful, really. You still need to drink a smoked beer. I know. Okay, options for today if you'd like to vote. And we'll get to the voting here in a second. We have Abortion by Hannah Williams. Hannah Williams, if you missed out last week, was here with Paul and Morgan talking about Netflix and shit. So that's that lady. It's the pretty lady who wasn't Morgan. 200K challenge by Flat Earth Millionaire, 7-Year-Old Transitions by Blair White, Immigration by ARTV, Sex Bullshit by We the Internet, Debunking Evolution by Genesis Apologetics, and HP Lovecraft Isn't Racist by The Quartering. So lots of things to vote for. We'll get the voting started, and then since the voting will be started, I can also take a moment to step out and go get myself my beer while you all vote. It's not going to even take me that long. If I can find polls. Where are you, polls? So, if you would like to vote, all you got to do is hit an upside down I, vote, and then the number you like to vote for. Somebody already got to it right away. So, vote, see which one you like to go for. Just give me a second. I'll put like some royalty-free music just real quick so that things aren't super silent while I go get my beer. Didn't take as long as could have, which is good. See, music wasn't even necessary, such a short pause, but we don't like to have too much dead air. So I am still drinking the michelada, which is the thing that we had last time. If you missed out on the michelada recipe, that was probably a complex recipe. It is grossly red, but super tasty. It's pretty much a Bloody Mary with beer. It's a Mexican Bloody Mary, so it's got some hot sauce, some Worcestershire sauce, some soy sauce, and some clam juice, tomato clam juice. All of it together into a cup with some beer, and then it is fantastically tasty. There's a C option, but there's a large room for temperature, so I won't do that. What? Vote for a wheat or B for a smoked wheat. Ooh. Alright, so I guess I have to look up where I can buy a smoked wheat beer. which is I know you've told me like several times, smoked wheat beer, and where I might be able to find one. It's a Grodziski. That's what Google tells me. It's that kind of beer. Uh, so I'm gonna have to. I'll look around, see where I might be able to find some in my area that I can buy. Because I would like to, I'm always willing to try. My friends and I are probably gonna get together this year. We're trying to get together this year to actually brew some beer, so that might be kind of fun. If you noticed on Saturday, I was really hungover because I went to a retirement party, and at that retirement party, one of my retired friends, because I have boomer friends and nothing but boomer friends, we were talking about brewing. So I think we're gonna try to get together and do some brewing, which would be fun. I'd like to make a nice stout. I'd like to make something altogether. Here's a gift pack from gift pack, eh? Oh goodness, let's see. Mm. Six bottle. I guess I can show you, but then I have to take off the menu. Six bottle, six pack mix, classic smoked beer, smoked wheat beer, and pale lager. Ooh, 1130C. I don't know what that means. And available now. I don't. I can check. I'm gonna keep that open. I can check if that delivers anywhere out here in the States. If it delivers to the States, great. I keep forgetting. God, all the mail things. I'm supposed to mail things out to Miles as well. We're gonna finally. I've had that Flat Earth kids book for a while, and I need to mail that out to Miles because Micro decided that was a good idea, so that's gonna go to Miles, which I think will be great. That's the European sign C. The Euro sign. Okay. It's an E, not a C. It looks like a C to me, and that's okay. So you got about a minute and a half to vote. Again, if you like to vote, upside down I, vote, and then the number that you like to vote for. We have some pretty good options. I try to get a nice big array of things. The abortion one's probably going to be, it's very, very Christian-y, abortion-y things, flat earth stuff. The flat earth one, if you do vote for that one, we're probably going to do two videos because that video is really short, but there's another video that both of them Luke recommended. The other one is about how we're not living in 2020 because reasons. And it's by Flat Earth Millionaire as well. So if we do the Flat Earth one, we'll do probably two of them. 7-year-old transitions, more trans stuff by Blair White because she's a transphobe. The immigration stuff is ARTV trying to be centrist, and they're not. The sex bullshit is interesting because that's actually a doctor talking about how sex and gender are binary, which is funny. She's also been mostly discredited in her field, and most people don't want her in their universities because she says a lot of real dumb shit. So that's kind of funny. Debunking evolution is just general creationist nonsense, and the quartering is just a quartering, complaining about everything because the quartering just has no life, which just absolutely flabbergasts me sometimes how much the quartering is allowed to. How much the quartering just likes to bitch about things. It always astounds me how good he is about bitching about everything. It's hilarious. We are living in 2020. He is living in 1520. That's true. Okay, so with that said, we are all done with the poll. We're going to complete it. We have ourselves our winner, which is going to be something in a second. I hate Blair. Over the past few years, a lot of trans crap people say has gotten too embarrassing to say, and people still feel comfortable spewing nonsense about trans kids. Yeah, Blair is pretty much. So 5-1 with the most votes. Yeah, Blair is pretty... He's a pretty awful human being. Not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of her. Remotely, am I a fan of her? So that one's definitely where is it? Over here. That one's definitely
So how do we?
something that I take a little bit, not personally, but I have, like, God, she's just so awful. Like a lot of her stuff just needs to be talked about. I'm amazed. I am gonna shit on people because I can, and it's not like they like me anyway. But I was amazed to find out that who is it? Jacqueline Glenn, who I used to watch and used to be like really good, like big fan of hers, and I used to love her videos and whatnot. But her and Blair White are like really good friends, and they're, I guess, Blair is gonna be like a bridesmaid or whatever Jacqueline's gonna be a bridesmaid in Blair's wedding, which is just, it's just sad. Like it's just super sad that the I mean, I have stopped watching Jacqueline Gunn for a long time now, but it's just really sad that that's kind of, that people are okay with some of the shit that she gets away with. So another courting from playing Magic the Gathering, and I got it to the point where the nicest guy in the Magic community needs a video about community made a video about him. Yeah, I know he was banned, right, for pretty much being a sexist asshole or stalking. Well, he was banned from like tournaments, from Magic the Gathering tournaments, for pretty much being a jackass. And then just went on to YouTube to just talk about how cartoon girls is boobs aren't big enough for his satisfaction, which is just as creepy. And he's married too, and is just the creepiest shit. Like, and oh god, we're going to talk about the quartering, even though nobody voted to talk about the quartering. We're going to talk about him anyway, because like it's not like clearly I'm a sexist asshole who likes to look at boobs, right? Boobs are great. There's nothing boobs, but all the things, it's fantastic. So it's not like I'm a prude or anything, but I'm also don't go on the internet and then complain that a 16-year-old cartoon girl, that her breasts aren't big enough, which is just the weirdest thing to complain about. Like, it's such a weird thing to complain about, that a cartoon character's boobs aren't big enough. I just, wanting to look at boobs isn't sexist. It's true. Yeah, She-Ra renting. I am talking about the She-Ra thing. It just amazes me. It just amazes me. I've complained about weirder things. You probably have. Okay, so with that said, we have ourselves this video by We Are the Internet. I already have a video to replace this one, so we're gonna have another We Are the Internet video next week, because this channel is nothing but pure gold, and I love every bit of it. So the whole name of this video is called Sex, Gender, and Bullshit, Part 10. Are gender activists undermining science from We the Internet TV? They're a YouTube channel that just has a lot of, they seem to just be conservative assholes. Seems to be the thing. I don't know. Jeremy the Corning was harassing Magic cosplayers to the point where his fans got multiple people to quit going to conventions because people were showing up to their houses. Ooh. I knew he was super creepy. Like, I knew there was a super creepy thing. So, yeah, that makes sense. That again, quartering being a super creepy guy is just, it's nothing new. He is just, oh, God. What are the options I see for I can vote 1 through 7? Sorry. We all are out of voting. But I can't scroll up enough. Sorry, you're just a little late for voting. Yeah. You show up early next time and you get to vote again, I promise. But for now, we got ourselves sex and bullshit and things. So let's listen to a little bit of this guy and whatnot.
So how do we get to the point where you can't even talk about things that are scientifically consensed? That's not a f***ing word. Here's one. If you donate enough money to sex science, will it tell you what you want to hear?
Okay. So this is Dr. Deborah So. Dr. Deborah So, too loud. I'm sorry. Dr. Deborah So is she is a doctor. And I looked her up. She's an actual legit doctor. Has her doctorate in psychology, I want to say. So she's like a legitimately, expert in her field. The big thing with her is that she very much is one of these SJWs are ruining academia people, and so she talks. I turned it down so when next time I hit play, it shouldn't be so loud. She's also pretty annoyed by the host right now. I would be too. And so speaking of which, so she's slight tangent. She's one of these people who's social justice warriors are taking over academia. You can't do research on controversial things because the social justice warriors will shut you down and they won't get funding and they'll deplatform you, and liberalism is destroying academia and all that, right? That seems to be she's one of those people. She's those Steven Crowder kind of individuals. Along with that, she's also one of those, and I'm gonna plug another channel, and hopefully I can remember their names. But King Crocoduck, if you guys know him, he's kind of argued. He's done a lot of videos on like on Ray Comfort, obviously by the King Crocoduck reference. He's done a lot of videos on Ray Comfort. Um, he just had a debate sort of on this topic with SJW Debates, who's I can't even remember. I think that's the name of his channel, SW Debates. But they just had a little debate on sort of this topic about social sciences versus natural sciences and whatnots. King Crocodile has some very stupid ideas about what a social science is. He doesn't think that the real sciences because reasons. And so it was interesting. I was in the chat for a little bit, but I kind of ended up leaving. There are some. And I don't want to say that like social sciences are you don't get to criticize them. There's definitely some good reasons to criticize social sciences, but the reasons that a lot of people criticize social sciences are not good reasons to criticize social sciences. So one of the ones that King Crocodile brought up was like the lack of reproducibility in some social sciences, including like psychology and sociology. There's a little bit of there's a lack of reproducing results, and that's true. That's not actually, we know that, and social scientists know that. Same thing, but it's just one of those things that he doesn't understand why there's a lack of reproducibility. He says that he pretty much goes out and said is a huge problem in social science, but it's also just an issue with science. Yeah, so the replication thing, he blames it on like social justice warriors messing with science so that you can't replicate it and you can't replicate results. And that's not really what's going on. What's going on is it's really hard to get your results published, not because because social justice warriors, but because peer reviewed journals don't necessarily want to publish replication studies. Like nobody wants to nobody wants to pay you to do it, right? Nobody's gonna be like, hey guys, can I have money to go replicate the study that was done like a year or two ago? No one wants to give you money for that, because that's not, replication is important, but it's not furthering things, right? And so the other thing, so that's one of the reasons, and then the other one is, of course, that journals don't want to publish replication studies. They want to publish the newest, the coolest stuff. They don't want to publish something that's already been done, and so there is a replication crisis, but it's got nothing to do with social justice warriors taking over academia. It's got to do with funding and journals and that kind of stuff. But people like King Crocoduck, I'm gonna assume that this lady too, have this issue where rather than put blame on the peer-reviewed system or peer-reviewed journals, they want to blame liberals and social justice warriors for doing it, not for creating that crisis and placing the blame in the wrong spot. So so that's kind of it. Is King Coconut still alive? Has not done anything on his channel in a year or 18 months, has he? No, he did something. He's done a few videos on like this subject that we're talking about now, and again, he's on debates. He ran away from Twitter, so I'm not a fan of King Crocodile. So I'm sorry if you are, because I'm gonna shit on him. He ran away from Twitter about a year ago because we were having this kind of debate on, especially in psychology, we were having this debate, and one of the things that he came out with was he was telling everyone that 80% of psychology diagnoses were incorrect, and he stated this, like 80% are incorrect. And so people like me and scientist Mel were like, all right, buddy, you're gonna have to, like, that's a hell of a claim, you're gonna have to back it up. And he kept making the claim, and pretty much anytime he'd make the claim, we'd be like, okay, back it up, show us a study showing that this is true. And eventually he just kind of gave up and ran away from Twitter. So I think it was me and scientist Mel who might have driven him away. He'd also said some other stupid shit about this was when we were talking about the topics, or the big topic around it was trans kids who were we were talking about like socially transitioning and puberty blockers and things like that, and he's like, oh no, 80% of psychology diagnoses are wrong, so you can't be giving kids hormone or puberty blockers and things like that. And so and we asked him to back it up. Of course, couldn't, and then ran away from Twitter, which was hilarious. Surprisingly, there's actually been a new study showing how much puberty blockers actually is the benefits of puberty blockers on trans individuals. So there was a fairly new study. I have it saved somewhere in a bookmark because it's a pretty cool study about how new studies have found out that, hey, puberty blockers are pretty good, and they help with things. Imagine that. Imagine that if you have gender dysphoria, that maybe a puberty blocker might help you out. That'd be fantastic, right? Mm. So that was funny. The replication crisis is a huge problem for the social sciences, but it's also an issue for science in general. Yep, there's one in biology as well, and I'm pretty sure that in a lot of sciences it exists because, again, this has nothing to do with political correctness or any of that. It's just you got to get the funding, you got to get all that. You got to get funding, you got to have it published, and you can't always do that. Defines a lot of what we're talking about. Real SJW, the Sargon type. Everybody is subject to being left or center type. Yeah. Replication is vital, but it's not sexy. It's not the line with capitalism in science. It's true. Yeah, that is part of the problem. It's not the hip new thing to replicate things. That's it. That's really it. It's just not hip and cool. So you don't get funding. You don't get published. If anti-SJWs took over academia, they'd brag about it, saying they're right, and that's why they were able to take over. But since they don't agree, they say the opposite. It's true. And that's actually a very good point, because they'll bitch all they want about academia and all that. Because a lot of the problem is a lot of academia does kind of disagree with sort of the anti-SJW types. Like, it does disagree with them, when it talks about things like gender as a social construct, or sex is on a spectrum, or the benefits of socialism have been studied, right? Like, there's a lot of these things that contradict the worldviews of of the anti-SJW types, the right wing, that kind of section of thinking, and so that's why they hate it, right? I mean, they're more than willing to embrace academics the moment that academics say anything, right? Like, the moment that as long as academia agrees with them, they're more than willing to embrace it. So it's definitely, if the tables were turned, they'd be like, they would be the ones. They only disagree. They only think that it's SJW is ruining things because they disagree with the science and not the other way around. Or the science disagrees with them, I suppose. Okay. In my early days of watching YouTube, I watched King Crocoduk's anti-creationist stuff. What's interesting, but I was absolutely on the side in those. But I always felt he was unnecessarily nasty. Yeah, I could see that. Okay, with that said, let's listen to a little bit more. Okay, so here's a question that's being asked about to Dr. So. If you donate enough money to science, will it tell you what you want to hear? To sex science, oh, I didn't realize, sex science. Oh goodness, didn't realize there was a whole section of science about sex. That's fantastic.
And I think this might actually be like a broader question, just about conflict of interest between funding and research. Now, someone like yourself who worked in research, what's your take on that?
That's an excellent question. I would say currently, as far as I know, I think funding agencies are still ethical. I hope it continues to be that way. I mean,
funding agencies are ethical. So, that's an interesting one. Funding agencies are ethical. Do I want to? I don't know if I can 100% agree on that. Depends on what you mean by science. It's true. So of course, I don't want to agree with her, because I don't want to say like such a concrete statement as that they are ethical, because there's definitely unethical studies. So back to things, funding agencies, I don't, yeah. So I don't know if she means like government agencies, right? Like getting grant money from the government to run studies, and how, if they're ethical or not, or if she's talking about like companies giving money to whatever do research. What the fuck is a funding agency? I'm assuming that she just kind of meant as like a broad, like the people who provide funding. I don't think she understands that there is no such things as funding agencies. That's what and maybe I'm being too nice to her, and she doesn't actually know that. Made by boards and committees, yeah. So I can only tell you sort of from how my clinic gets money. We get money from the government, so we do a lot of we get a lot of grant money to run studies. But we're also a university, so and not like a UN university, so like we're a government university, right? So we get a lot of our funding that way for studies. I know that companies can definitely do their own studies and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know if you can say that like the people giving you money, like the people who will give you money have a whole lot to say about the results. So one of the ways that I could see it happening, right? So company X gives out money to whatever university or whatever, like run this study for us, right? And then the results come out, and this company that gave you the money doesn't agree with the results, so then the results don't get published. That might be one way that you could sort of influence it, but like, while I don't agree with like the publishing system, the peer review system is still very good. So I don't know how giving any amount of money will get you, it will give you the results that you want. You might be able to publish it, like self-publish it, or you might be able to publish it in such a way that it looks legitimate. You might be able to influence what gets studied. So, yeah, if you have a group that wants to study, that really wants to study like gender or sex or whatever, you might be able to give money to those to those so that they get. You would disagree? Peer review is starting to fail. Oh, okay, well. We disagree there, so that's fine. But sorry, so to the like, you might be able to say where the money goes for research, but I'm not sure you can really say about the results. So that's just me. Money can get you the results you want, but it doesn't stop the 10 other studies that disagree with you. Yeah. I have seen a couple, at least in the last week, I've seen a couple of sort of shadier studies that I saw that kind of went through the peer review system that kind of flabbergasted me that went through it. Again, if you followed if you'd followed sort of what I do on Twitters and yell at people, I got into a little Twitter spat with somebody who provided me a couple of studies on ABA therapy, and both the studies were really bad studies that I am absolutely surprised got through any IRB of any sort. Period. I'm like, I guess they're not unethical, but God, they're just not very good studies. And so I'm just surprised that they were able to get like approval to do the study in the first place. One of them was run by like a single individual, so it was just a single individual collecting data. So I don't know if they got a whole lot of money for that. The other one was kind of a. It wasn't, again, it was also one individual, and it wasn't a study as much as it was like it wasn't even a meta-analysis. It was just talking about links between abuse and ABA therapy, and they just kind of wrote about it. So, but it was published in a peer-reviewed journal. But it didn't, like, a lot of the connections were extremely tenuous. The science itself was really bad, so I was kind of surprised to see such bad studies and such bad science actually make it through the peer review system. So that was a little disappointing. Oh, excuse me. When big journals let oblivious fraudulence stay with only minor correction, there is a problem. Yeah, I could see that. We got a thing. Carlton, open this over here. Financial Administration Committee of Training. Oh, it's a funding agency. Is this, I did see, is this a UK thing or is this Canada thing? That's CA, that's Canada thing, right? Okay, so there are. Ooh, what is a funding agency? Is an external organization, public or private, which undertakes a contractual agreement with the university to sponsor research or an entrepreneur activity. The funding agencies often dictates how their funds may be used, what deliverables are expected, and what reports are required. Why is it important funding agencies? Oh, thank you very much. I didn't even see that. Thank you very much, Fry, for the super chat. They can pre-review my shit. Thank you very much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. And I won't switch it because then I'll switch out the boobs. But just the link that was sent. So we do have information on what a public a funding agency is. So thank you very much for sharing that. It's very good. It doesn't make sense. I've never heard of anyone use it like that. So funding agencies still being, it might be, and I could see this. It might be one of those cases of using a real word and just using it in a way that, again, Jordan Peterson like, where you use a real concept and a real word, and then use it in such a way that it doesn't actually fit the word. It becomes word salad e. So, but that's cool. Either way, we got it. Okay, so with that said, let's go over here. We're going to take a pause. I finished my clam juice, so we can go to beer of the week. So we're going to pause everything to do beer of the week. We got ourselves today beer cocktail of the week. We're going to do ourselves a beer mimosa. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It is beer and it's a mimosa. That's all it is. It's a beer mimosa. So the ingredients are very, very simple. It is a blue moon. I got myself a blue moon. And orange juice. I don't know why it's a blue moon. It's a Belgian white, so I don't know. Maybe get a Belgian white, I suppose. I think blue moons, according to the label, it says that it was brewed with Valencia orange peel. So maybe that helps it out with being better for being beer mimosa. There are also a few people in academia named Jordan. We shouldn't say his name. Makes him seem much more prestigious. It's true. He's not even in academia anymore, right? Like he's not a professor anymore. Like he's obviously still a doctor, but he's not a professor. I don't think he does anything in academia anymore. Like he's not doing research or publishing or teaching or anything. I don't think, right? And I could be wrong. I don't follow Peterson all that much. But as far as I know, he's just gone on the full shill train is what he's at. R&D will end up in the front of the Court of Crimes Against Humanity in the Netherlands if he continues this beer aside. But it's so, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if this is good. This is one that I simply Googled like beer cocktails and this is one of the ones that came up. So we're just gonna try. I think the recipe that I found said like 3/4 something. I don't know. I'm doing half and half. We'll see. If we need to fix the ratio of beer to orange juice, we can. But it is literally just half a glass of orange juice, half a bottle of beer, and that's it. That's all we're gonna do. That's all she wrote. Is it any good? Ooh, that is good. Does the OJ have? No, not this one. That's good. Ooh, I could see that. It would be gross. That is fantastic. I love it. Good. Only one terrible cocktail we've had so far in all of our attempts to do cocktails. This is fantastic. I love every bit of this. All right. So, with that, we can go back to our video now that we've taken our pause to talk about beers and stuff. We can head on back. Let's find ourselves our video here. Listen to a little bit more and funding agencies and whatnot.
I can't speak for all, but my sense within the field is that, the agencies are still ethical, but we're definitely seeing this trend where research is being influenced by political ideas, and that it's lucrative for people to put these particular ideas out there. So we'll see, say, certain journals publishing papers that claim to find certain things because they know that the public is going to really like it. It's going to be splashy. It's going to be controversial, and controversial in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I would disagree. Research is influenced by the word Kremlins. It's true. Um, so again, so she's not. We don't 100% disagree because I did talk about this earlier about how journalists like to publish flashy research. How that's part of the replication crisis. Says that we can't. No, replication isn't sexy, so publishers, journals don't want to publish that nonsense. They want to publish new findings, and yeah, they want to find findings that are controversial, findings that are going to be like, hey, we she's not wrong in that sense. I think we would disagree on sort of the direction that academia is going. There's also this idea, don't feed researchers after midnight. There's also this funny idea about how like I'm gonna talk about King Cocker quite a bit because he just talked about this so recently that it's still on my mind. One of the things that he brought up, and sort of similar to what Dr. So is bringing up here, is like this idea that politics influence research, and it's very much so in the like no duh kind of thing, like yeah, no shit. Is somehow like as if somehow you could do research that isn't politically like not that it's not politically like research doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? Well, like at the end of the day, as much as we try, like it's not like researchers are still people, researchers are still biased. Like it is, politics are always going to influence research in some ways, and sometimes it's not necessarily like, oh, because of my bias I'm gonna fudge the numbers kind of thing, but the kind of research that people are doing is going to be influenced by politics, by what's going on currently, right? Like it's right now, like doing research on things like sex and gender and trans individuals is a, I don't want to call it hip, but it's kind of a hip thing to do because it's a big topic in society right now. So having that kind of research is important to society as a whole. So you get a lot of people doing that kind of research and wanting to do that kind of research because it's what's being talked about. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the results are going to, like, that because people are doing research that they're going to fudge the results in order to agree or to come up with a result that they agree with. It just means that you might see trends like people wanting to do research in towards social subjects that are particularly important in the time. That's nothing new. So science doesn't happen in a vacuum. How science happens within our society. And if you're going to try, if you're going to go and ask somebody to give you money to do research, you're going to be like, hey, whatever, bored over here, give me money to spend to do research. You can't get that money if you're going to be like, I'm going to do this bit of research on something that I find extremely fascinating, but is going to have absolutely no social impact, right? It's going to do nothing to help society. Then why would people want to give you the money? Like that's money is going to be such a big problem here. Is you can't get people to give you money if you're just going to be like, I want to research something that I find interesting but isn't going to improve public life or whatever. So yeah, you're gonna find that there's gonna be more studies in things that are more socially important or being socially talked about nowadays. That's just what it is. Okay. See, there's enormous. Okay, so some science can be done in a vacuum, just not a lot. You can't write a grant application that says I would be super cool. You have to give another reason. Yeah, that's one of the things that. So I wrote a grant application. I didn't turn it in because it was just an exercise on writing grants, right? So I wrote an application, and it was on something that I find fascinating, which is on driving behavior in Nebraska, because Nebraskans don't fucking know how to drive, and I wanted to know why they don't know how to drive. And so I was like, this is something that I find interesting and I want to know about. So I'm gonna write it. I want money to research driving behaviors in Nebraska. And when I wrote this grant, just like Micro said, you can't just be like, I think this is super cool and I want to study it. I started off my grant study talking about driver safety. I talked about, how many pedestrians are killed every year due to bad driving behavior by drivers. I talked about, I specifically picked a incident that happened here in Papillion, Nebraska, which is just a little bit south of where I am, about a little girl who got run over by a car. So I talked about this is the social importance of why you should give me money. And that to me was the secondary part. I just wanted to know about why people drive weird, but that is how you get money. You say things like, this is the impact that it'll have. This is the change that it'll have, and you cannot get money. People aren't gonna give you money to do your own little thing, to do your own little hobby. So yeah, to be honest, grant applications are a problem all of their own. People end up spending more time optimizing applications than doing science. I could see that. Hello, Insider. We are watching Sex, Gender, and Bullshit Part 10, Are Gender Activists Undermining Science by We the Internet today. So that's where we're at. Yeah, we've actually watched a whole 1 minute and 10 seconds, which is pretty good.
And so that's why we see this information getting out there. So, I think it's really important if people have an issue with that to say so, because it's to the point now that information gets, goes to the media disseminates it, and this is how we now talk about these issues, but they're not actually based in fact.
How much would it cost me to fund a study that says sex with me is statistically way better than any other kind of sex? Like, how much money are we talking about?
Jesus fuck. Buddy, I know you're trying to be funny. But you're not funny. All right, oh God, this is a problem when I get annoyed at this, because this is the problem when you're trying to have a conversation about something important. And while Dr. So and I may disagree on a whole lot of things, I do think that it's very important to talk about things like replication crises, talk about the fact that funding only goes to sexy studies that talk about newfangled things, right? I think it's important to talk about these subjects, to talk about the fact that that money gets to decide what we study, and not necessarily money is kind of the first one, and then maybe public interest, but at the end of it, it's going to be money, and maybe what people want to hear about. So these are some important topics, and it just have some jackass be like, "Hey, Dr. So, how much do I have to pay you to say that having sex with me is good?" God, fuck off, buddy. It's wouldn't there first have been a study showing he has sex? That's true. Regent? We need a hashtag Regent. I mean, we can make a hashtag. Okay.
I don't know if you can put a number on that.
Can't. Priceless.
Okay. I've seen most of this video. So this is one of those videos that I actually won. Not that he watches my videos, but Godless Cranium, buddy, shots fired at me at one point. So I got into the habit of watching a little bit more of these videos before I put them on the list, because Godless Cranium called me out for not me in particular, but called out for not watching videos before talking about them. So I kind of decided to be, a little bit more professional and watch a little bit. So I already watched part of this. That was a very long, convoluted way of saying I already watched this part. But if gender is a social construct, then how can trans people exist? I just oof. I just oof. If it's a social construct, how can trans people exist? It's such a dumb question. It is legitimately a very, 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 God, it's just a very, very dumb question. That's like asking if species are a construct, then how come dog and cats can't have babies? Pretty much, yeah, it pretty much is. Okay, again, so one, saying that something is a social construct doesn't mean it's not real. It means that the way that we have set it up, we came up with, and that's fine. Gender is a social construct because the way that we set up gender is based on social things, right? Like what colors you wear, and how your hair looks, and um, what kind of clothes you wear, and things like that. Um, so yeah, it's a social construct, as in we came up with the definitions of them, and those definitions are relative to society. So and they change, right? Like whatever the 100 200 years ago, men wearing frilly things was very much so a like male thing to do, which is not, so much today. So men wearing wings, men wearing makeup, men wearing jewelry, men, wearing all these flamboyant colors and things like that was still a manly thing to do, which wouldn't necessarily be considered a manly thing to do now, which is why it's social, right? It changes. It's not the same. Our definition of what man is versus what woman is not the same now as it was 100 200 years ago. And that's what that means, right? It doesn't mean that it's not real. Well, it means that it's not real in the sense that it's like a concrete thing. It means that it's real only in insofar as we give it a reason to be real. Money is a social construct. Time is a social construct. That doesn't mean that like those things don't have value, right? Like the arbitrary, and not entirely arbitrary, but the arbitrariness of time and seconds and all that. Like you can pick any other way of measuring time. You can come up with it, and it still work. You have to redo your science or your math a little bit different. Doesn't mean it's not gonna work, and that doesn't mean that time isn't real or that time doesn't pass. Same thing with money. Like money's a social construct, right? Like at the end of the day, a $20 bill is just a piece of paper, but it's socially that we give it more value than just a piece of paper. All the things. To be honest, sex is still a construct, like radically different one, but it's still grouping people decide to make. Wooden gender roles. That's a good one. I would say that either sex or gender, yes, sex or gender are not the same, but I would say that both of them are social constructs. Like not like as in like sex. We also like the last video that I made. We came up with those definitions, so we kind of get to decide what they are. There is no like solid line there. So I do kind of see that as to what you're saying there. Brian, I don't know what you were angry about, but I have no problem with GE or cranium. I'm not very happy about rational rows, kind of skip it, but I would not call them idiots either. Their egos. I'm not a fan of GE. We had a big falling out. Few years. It's been a few years at this point, so we had a big falling out. I was on his stream, like back when his channel first started. We were much friendlier to each other, and then we kind of stopped. We had a falling out. We stopped talking, and that's fine. I don't necessarily, not a fan of him. Godless Cranium has been pretty nice to me, so I have no personal problem, but I could so I don't know. I don't have a personal problem, but if you do, I understand. Okay. So with that said, let's watch a little bit more of this before we take a break. I don't feel like we need to take a break too quickly here.
If being trans is being born the opposite gender, brain, then how is gender a social construct if trans people tend to follow those opposite gender roles? Can you speak on that?
I have actually talked.
God, this is such a dumb question. I'm gonna scoot back just a tad bit, because their question is slightly different than the one that we just answered. So being trans is being born the opposite gender. That is not quite. It's not quite what trans means. Trans does not mean being the opposite. It means not being the one that you're assigned, or not necessarily not experiencing the gender that you are assigned. So you get assigned a gender at birth. It's usually determined by how your dangly bits or lack of dangly bits look. That's just how way it is. So it isn't. Yeah, according to this person, non-binary people don't exist. So trans doesn't mean you identify as the opposite gender than the one you were assigned. It just means that you don't identify as the gender that you were assigned. And that's a slight difference because non-binary exists, and there's still trans individuals. So, but I'm sure that this person just doesn't know what the definition of trans is. So I'm gonna go with that's their problem, is that they probably don't understand that non-binary people exist in the world. So that's a thing. So, and again, trans people tend to follow the opposite gender roles. That's not always true. They don't tend to follow. They don't necessarily have, and I think the important part there is they don't necessarily have to follow the gender roles. Were the black bars in the original video? Yes. I did not edit this video. I do not care about about the people on Facebook who answered this question 23 weeks ago. Jesus fuck, that's like 6 months. That is like 6 months. Oh goodness. You are like really dipping into like old Facebook posts if you had to go back 6 months to find them with a single reaction to it. You are high quality content here, high quality questions. I wonder what their actual like good questions were. I have a feeling these are probably their crap questions, because they have a single reaction and they're from 23 weeks ago. So yeah, so you don't necessarily, so okay, again, you don't necessarily have to follow gender roles to be trans. You don't, non-binary people, non-binary individuals exist. There's just, it's a silly question. You're a silly person.
Roles. Can you speak on that?
I have actually talked about this previously, and I would say you need to ask the people who are saying that, because it makes absolutely no sense. So some people will deny the effects of prenatal testosterone, say that it has no bearing on biological sex or gender, but then in the same breath, they'll also say that trans people need testosterone to transition. So,
God damn it! I'm not a biologist, so I don't want to like regurgitate biology things. So one of the things, god damn, and I know what she's talking about, because I mostly know it from rats, because it happens on rats. Rats are funny this way. So I'm gonna talk about it from rats because that's how I know this. I mean, this person is making a good case for why gender has a biological component. Yes. Okay. Which part do you want to talk about? Okay, let's talk about the rats first, and then we'll talk about the biological component, and then we'll talk about gender. How about that? We'll go that way. So, rats do this fun thing. I think it's rats. I want to say this rats. There's been studies on rats where pretty much rats, if you don't know, were born in giant groups because rats. But so depending on sort of how close, so if you have like will be like a female and then a male and then a female, and sort of they're sitting next to each other, you will see that the male rat starts showing more behaviors and characteristics of a female rat rather than a male rat. So you have this, and this happens in the womb, by the way, not outside of the womb. Litters, yes. I can words. So this happens in the womb, right? So this is before they are born, right? And then when they're born, they start. You see that male rats, if they are born with a lot of sisters or sort of next to sisters in the womb, that they come out being more feminine, which is a weird thing to say about rats, but that's the closest way I can sort of portray it. So they're more feminine rats. God, that's so fucking weird. At the end of it, so birth clubs. So they're more so yeah. So that ends up happening. That is true. That's biology things. So with that said, what was next? I said I was going to talk about one thing and then another thing. Okay, so then when we say things like gender is a social construct, again, gender roles is a social construct because we make up those definitions, right? That doesn't mean that there aren't outside components to it. Like that doesn't, just like Micro said. And I would argue that saying something like gender isn't biological makes no goddamn sense, because your brain is biological, so gender has a biological component. It's just that the way that we define it using social aspects. We don't don't define it using biological aspects. We define it as things like what you wear, how you act, and things like that. Not necessarily your dangly bits, right? And so gender does have has a biology component. So when you say he admitted that psychology is just biology, it's just brain biology. So when you're okay. So why do trans individuals need testosterone or just HRT in general, hormone replacement therapy? That has to do with, again, because we define gender as, in order for you to, and this isn't all trans individuals, this isn't everybody, right? If we define things like gender as you wear dress, or for women you wear dresses, for men you wear ties, things like that, and then we also put in some biological components into that, like women have breasts and men have chest hair or beards or whatever, right? So in order to help a trans individual be able to get past dysphoria, you might need to change your biology in order to match the social definitions that we have placed. God, Dr. So, you're dumb. You're really dumb for a smart person who's got a doctorate. You're real dumb. So saying that something is a social construct doesn't mean, I don't know why you think everything's in a vacuum. Doesn't mean that there isn't a biological component. It means that we come up with the rules. Okay. And the biology is 100% chemistry, which is the physics of large packs of atoms alone in or in groups. There we go. You can socially construct anything you want, but not a lot of it would be useful. R&D is going to the red side. No, let's not. I don't want to. That's okay. Right there is something we can avoid, like the plague. Okay, so with everything said, we're going to take a break here. We're gonna take a break here. So quick break. We'll be right back. It shouldn't take too long. Nope, wrong one. There we go. Enjoy some fan art and enjoy some royalty-free music. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. All right, everyone, and we're back. Let's go there. There we go, and we're back. Thank you very much again, Brian, for $2 donations, $2 super chat. R&D has better sex than whoever reads this. That is true. I will let you. Again, you pick a number between 1 and 36, and you can have that set of boobs. I know I don't think I have it set up in the AFK or beginning section, but if you want boobs and or butts, pick a number between 1 and 36. You will get those. All right. So we are back to talk more about. We didn't get our boobs. I know. I just asked for them. So as Brian picks a number, or we will roll a number, one or the other. Butts better than boobs. See, the thing is, then I have to go look for which one has butts. I don't necessarily know off the top of my head, even though I made the things. I don't necessarily know them. But they do exist. So let's see. If I can find them real quick, we will. But I don't necessarily know if I can't find them real quick. Oh, that's the one you already got. You already got that one. So let's not give you those. I know that they're closer to the end because I made them more recently. All right, I think you'll like that. We'll go with this one. Bam. Thank you very much, Brian, for all your wonderful donations today. Or super chats today. I do greatly appreciate them. Oh, by the way, so I know we're kind of moved past housekeeping, and I completely forgot. I mentioned in the chat, but completely forgot. We will be doing a patron stream coming next week. So I did do a whatchamacallit. God damn, I forgot. So I bought this, I finally got around and bought this program that lets me do audio, like digital audio mixing, which I've been needing to get. So I'm glad that I finally got around to buying one. So thank you very much, patrons and super chat and everyone who donates, because you help pay for that. And I got it set up. So now we have a way to have guests on, be able to watch videos, and for me to share audio and things through calls and all that nonsense. So next Sunday will be a patron stream. So if you're a patron, you are more than welcome to join here. It'll be more or less the same thing that we are doing now, except that we'll have a video to watch together. So we'll have probably, I know definitely microbloggism, because he's always up for it. So butts are better, but they don't have nipples on them. So I know probably microbloggism will definitely be here, but anyone else who would like to join, I will be putting the link to a call in the on the Patreon feed, and then you can come join us. So if you like to, it'll be more than just me next week. It's pretty much what I'm saying. All right, so back to Dr. So, whatever else he's got to say.
It really doesn't follow.
Part of your research was using fMRI to monitor brains. So how do trans people respond to fMRI scans?
So there haven't actually been any fMRI studies yet looking at gender identity specifically within transgender people with regards to homosexuality.
Okay. I'm going to stop there because I know what she's going to say next. So, from there, respond to it. From there. So, there have not been any studies, and this is important. There have not been any studies specifically fMRI on treatment. No, I don't think she said she was a treatment. Is that okay? No, I didn't listen. I wasn't listening. Now I have to go back.
Scans.
So
monitor brains. So how do trans people respond to fMRI scans?
So there haven't actually been any fMRI studies yet looking at gender identity specifically within transgender people.
Okay, so no, just respond to fMRI, which is still weird. I think he meant how does fMRI, like what results are. I think what he's trying to say is there a difference between an fMRI scan of a trans individual's brain versus that of a cis individual? I think that's what he's getting at. I don't 100% know because he's an idiot, doesn't know how to talk, but that's okay. We got me to translate. But Dr. So has said something important, which is that there aren't any. There might, I don't know how old this video is, so there might be some now. But there, at least at this point, there aren't any. So there aren't any studies looking at the different brains, right? I know that I've said this already, and I don't want to say it again because Micro's going to give me a hard time about it. But your brain is biology, so it would not be surprising if the brains of individuals do different things. However, brains are also complicated, so it would also not surprise me if they weren't all that different from each other because brains are complicated. So either way, this video is probably less than 23 weeks old. It probably is. So either one wouldn't necessarily surprise me, and I'm not sure how much it would actually tell you besides I'm not really sure what it would tell you. I guess it really depends on what your hypothesis is, but just sort of in general, if it turns out that a trans individual's brain is different than a cis individual's brain, it tells you that much, I guess, like that sort of wiring's a little different. If it doesn't tell you that, it just goes to show you that brains are complicated. So I don't know what it's supposed to. I'm not sure what it's supposed to demonstrate, but what she says next is really the amusing part.
With regards to homosexuality, though, it's really interesting. So with regards to sexual arousal, there's a very reliable network of brain regions that activate when someone is aroused. So we see with, say, if we compare straight and gay men, the same network activates when straight men are looking at heterosexual pornography or looking at, say, nude pictures of women. The same network is activated when gay men are looking at homosexual pornography or images of nude men.
So, absolutely nothing to do with trans individuals. That's fantastic. I'm so glad that you brought this up, Dr. So, because sexuality and gender are not the same thing. This is such a dumb answer, Dr. So, to the question that you were asked. The question you were asked had absolutely nothing to do with sexuality. So, way to go to give a stupid answer. That was fantastic. Gay men are gay. That's yes. Gay men are gay. Look at that. It turns out that your biology reflects like what your sexuality. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that great? Oh goodness.
Oh, so it's the same flow. It's just something else is getting it flowing.
Different target. Yep.
Sorry, that picture. I want to go back to that picture real quick. Oh, go back. I love this picture so much. I love this stereotyping. Look at all these gender feminists and trans activists with their multiple piercings and funky sunglasses. Like, oh no, the poor nerdy scientist is getting beaten up. It's so bad. It's so bad. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm gay, and even I know R&D has better sex than me. Thank you. Oh. This is actually a guy in the middle fetish. Oh no. It might be his fetish. We don't kink shame around here. So if you're into getting beaten up by signs held by women with multiple ear piercings, that's fine by us. Oh goodness, it's fantastic. I seem to remember that there are studies with normal MRI that have found that trans people's brains do tend to look like the brains of cisgender person with the same gender. Oh, do they? That'd be interesting. I'm gonna have to make a note of that. I don't know the studies on brain stuff. I don't tend to. Biology's weird. I don't like it, so I don't tend to go into that. Square glasses are so how she. So it's a scientist. It's true because scientists do not in any one. Scientists never wear funny glasses ever, at all. 2. There is no such thing as a gender feminist who's also a scientist or a trans activist who's also a scientist. These are all of these are all very different exclusive groups that do not at all commingle and do not exist on a spectrum of each other. Scientists are never feminist or trans activist and vice versa at all. It's hilarious. And it's definitely not that scientists who are trans activists because of their science at all. It's got everything to do with feminists and trans activists being mean to the poor little scientists. Uh, because no scientist has a piercing or colored hair. Exactly. Oh, goodness. Oh, this is great. Poor scientists.
You wrote an op-ed in the LA Times titled, "Are Gender Feminists and Transgender Activists Undermining Science?" Are they? What do you think?
Oh, there definitely are, without question. So with that op-ed, I spoke about how, some feminists will choose to deny the science that shows very clearly that there are biological sex differences in the brain that are not due to socialization. And with regards to transgender activists, I talk about desistance in children with gender dysphoria. So this is a very controversial.
And we'll get to the children that are all of the science. So, okay. It goes against all the science. So, like I spoke earlier, no one, and you made the case for biology, chemistry, because we talked about I think you talked about hormones. It's been a bit. I think you talked about hormones. You made the case that biology and hormones, chemistry or whatever, affects gender. You made that case, right? So you did that. So I don't understand why you're pissed that trans activists or gender feminists, whichever one, I forget which one you're talking about, agree with you, because you're the one who made the case in the first place. So there's that. The next bit is going to be about kids who are trans and at an early age understand that their gender doesn't match that their experienced gender doesn't match their assigned gender, and she's got words to say about that.
Topic.
Yeah, what is that?
So across all 11 studies that have ever been done on this topic, whether you look at small sample sizes or large sample sizes, or you look at which research team did the research, consistently between 60, so 60, and 90% of gender dysphoric children outgrow their dysphoria by puberty. So most of them will grow up to be usually gay, not always, but they won't be transgender in adulthood.
Now, I did genuinely try to find the source of this claim. I don't think she's got one. And remember, this is an op-ed in the LA Times, I think it was. So she's saying this, not out of a peer review study or anything. I need to finish my citation needed cat button. Because this is definitely a citation needed cat button. This is the same claim. See, it all goes back to King Crocoduck at the end. This is the same claim that King Crocoduck was making about diagnoses, and that gender dysphoria, that children outgrow gender dysphoria. I don't know how true this is. I genuinely am not going to say. I'm going to disagree with her just because she's a hack, but 60 to 90% is a big range. That is true. So I'm gonna disagree with her mostly because I don't know what study she's talking about, and two, it's I can't imagine that it's that big of a gap. It seems like, and then just out of feeling, I feel like if it was that big, right? If it's that big, that 60 to 90%, right? That's 9 out of 10 kids who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria end up not being dysphoric at adulthood, which, now that I think about it, that's funny. Huh. So now that I think about it, the way that she says that does not actually mean that as you grow older, you start identifying as your assigned gender. She just said that they're not dysphoric, which is different, right? Like having your gender dysphoria go away is not the same as being as identifying with the gender you were assigned. How do I explain that? It's so you could potentially you could have two cases, right? You have one case where you have a kid, and I think this is the case that she's trying to make, right? You have a kid who, whatever, at 7 years old is diagnosed with gender dysphoria, grows up to be 18, and at 18 they're like, oh no, I was assigned as a girl at birth, and now as an adult I'm not I don't have dysphoria anymore. Like I now not that I don't have dysphoria. I take that back. As a 7-year-old or as a kid, I was assigned as a girl. I grew up and now I do identify as a girl. So that's the case that Dr. So is saying is happening 69% of the time. But the way that she worded it could also be that they're just their dysphoria went away. So at 7 they were diagnosed with gender dysphoria, and you can lower or remove gender dysphoria by doing things like socially transitioning or transitioning altogether. So whatever with HRT or whatever else, right? So it could be that the 7-year-old gets diagnosed at 7, transitions, and then at 18 doesn't have dysphoria, so she would also be counted in the 60 to 90% because her dysphoria is gone or is lower. But that doesn't mean that she's not trans. So that's really the way that she says that means that you can interpret it in more than one way. That's very interesting. Oh, so she might not be wrong, but she might be extremely slimy by the way that she did this. That's hilarious. Huh. Um, you can learn to live. Yeah, you can learn to live with your body, but that still won't change it yet. But that is pretending the existence of hypochonders prove that there is no real illness. That's true. Dan, that's a good point, Arnicus. It's very interesting. So depending, and I'd like to find her op-ed, because depending on how she did it, she could make that case, right? She could find a sample of individuals who lowered the dysphoria by transitioning or socially transitioning or whatever, and the dysphoria went away. And she wouldn't be wrong that 60 to 80% of kids who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria and get treatment, and she might be leaving that bit out, don't have dysphoria after a while. There are trans people who do not have medical condition that is gender dysphoria. Oh yeah, and there's a whole non-dysphoric trans people are valid. There's a whole bunch of people there, so there's a whole bunch of things too. Yeah, yes. I know we're talking about gender dysphoria, so don't let me. I'm not at all promoting the trans medicalists. Like, you have to be gender dysphoric to be trans at all. So there's a whole lot to unpack in the sentence that she said, because it's very loose. It's very, very loose.
So this is really controversial to talk about, and I understand why, because the fear, I think, is that if we say, some of these kids don't stay trans, well, does that then justify denying transgender adults or people post-puberty in terms of medical intervention or any sort of, help that they might seek? I don't think so. I think it's important for us to look at the research, and, if most of these kids are going to outgrow the way they feel, then transitioning will not actually be beneficial for them. We'll have high rates of kids detransitioning.
And that's funny. Again, her words are so loose. It's fantastic. Because, so we should, if she's right, and what she said was actually talking about children at 7 transition, and then adulthood, they're like, oh no, I no longer identify as a girl or whatever. Or now I don't longer identify as a boy, but I transitioned. You should, right? You should see in the research, you should see a correlation there, where you should see a whole lot of people detransitioning. But you don't. Those numbers aren't very high. Like, there aren't any numbers. There's one lady. This was Blair White did a video on this. There's one lady, I think in the UK, and I might be getting my sources wrong here. There's one lady who says that she gets like hundreds of calls and hundreds of people a year talking to her about detransitioning and how they regret transitioning because they were diagnosed as a kid, right? Of course, none of her work is peer reviewed. It's been, and even in the articles that report it, Blair White did a video on this because she talked about this one particular article. God, I wish I remember where that article came from, but she talked about this one particular article, and in that article, it says there is no evidence to back up this woman's claim. So there are people who say this, but so far there seems to be no actual evidence to suggest that this is true. She's Jordan her words, yeah. Isn't it medical procedure to choose usually just the prescription and puberty blockers, so they don't have to revert biological changes if they should go through the transitioning as adults? Yeah. And the other thing, so one of the funny things about puberty blockers is they're actually more commonly given to cis individuals. For what there's a word for it, something puberty. God, there's a word for it. It's a kind of puberty. Prestigious? No, not prestigious. It's a kind of puberty, but it's given to cis individuals a whole lot. Because again, puberty sucks. And some individuals get it a whole lot earlier. So getting early, thank you. Precocious, thank you. Precocious puberty. I know it started with a P. Precocious puberty. So you get early puberty. So it's given to cis individuals a whole lot to sort of slow down to do what it does, right? Puberty blockers to block puberty, so that you can wait until the individual is actually ready to go through it. And this has been going on for 30 years, 40 years. So it's not like, when like little girls grow breasts at like 9, yes. And I've known, like, I used to be a teacher, so I've seen some of these girls who are at like 11, 12 years old, and they grow breasts, and it's not quite the time for them to be there, and so sometimes you put them on puberty. So this isn't like, puberty blockers aren't that weird. We use them with cis individuals. It's just, for whatever reason, people like Dr. So want to make it a big deal, want to make it this, like, you're giving people drugs to stop puberty. Like, it's not that big of a deal, guys. We've been doing it. It's fine. Has Bella been on Joe Rogan yet? Or is she still praying? I think so. Okay, so that means they're just a bit behind the development. Nothing irreversible has happened. If they want to stop taking them, they can. Yep. Okay. So, listen to a little bit more of this.
They will be transitioning back to their birth sex. And even a social transition for kids can be a very tumultuous thing to go through if they have to detransition from that.
So again, citation needed. Your words are really, really loose, very loosey-goosey. Don't entirely know. They're very loose. They can mean a whole lot of things. They're easy to interpret, which is probably why you said them that way. The difference between sex and gender.
Is there actually a measurable difference between sex and gender? Is there a metric to determine trans versus non-trans besides feelings?
You're a bitch. I don't actually know if you're a dude or a lady, so I'm gonna feel free to call you a bitch. I really dislike this idea of invalidating emotions. Like, it's the way you feel is important. You should not invalidate the way that people feel. This is why you have problems with, like, high suicide rates or depression or a whole lot of other things, because you're like, oh, that's not real. It's just the way you feel. Like, fuck you. The way that I feel is fucking valid. She's smart and makes it hard to dissect what she's actually means. She's very good at saying things. That's a very long brain. Yeah. It's such a weird way of asking. So pretty much, I mean, what does it mean? Is that this person is trying to invalidate people's feelings. That's pretty much what it means. Is people's feelings aren't real, and so the only way to measure if someone is trans or not is if you measure their brainwaves or whatever, right? Or they're asking for a I don't want to say concrete, let's go with tangible. A tangible way, like a blood test to see if you're really trans, or honestly, this I had a professor who I really liked, so I'm kind of I didn't realize how homophobic this was until later. Who would say things, and probably some of my older audience has heard this before. Um, how you're he was commenting about how you're only bi through college, and he was entirely making this comment about women, right? That women women are only bi through college because it's they get to go have sex with everybody, but it's not like they're really bi, and that's such a dismissal of how people are. It's bullshit. Like you don't have to be dismissive of how people feel. People are allowed to feel the way that they feel, and their feelings are valid. This person is asking for a trans test, or probably for since Dr. So likes to talk about sexuality, you know, a gay test or whatever test, right? For your feelings, so you can be tested for these things. A trans breathalyzer. Yes, we should have more of this. Man, we're gonna have to take a trans breathalyzer test. Oh, goodness.
Research has shown, with regards to brain imaging, that trans people, their brains are shifted in the direction of the sex they identify as. But the thing is, these studies have been conflated with sexual orientation. So all the people who take part in these studies, they are attracted to people who share their birth sex. So it's not clear whether...
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what? I'm confused. You said something real dumb.
Studies, they are attracted to people who share their birth sex.
People who share their birth sex. Okay. Good. I'm glad we brought up sexuality because I knew she was going to talk to it. So she said, I don't know why this contradicts anything. We gotta like listen.
Direction of the sex they identify as.
So, and I think Micro brought this up earlier. So she's pretty much saying, I think she's talking about MRIs. MRIs show that trans individuals' brains are closer aligned to cis individuals of the gender. Like, so if you have a trans woman, her brain looks a whole lot like a cis woman's brain. More or less what Dr. So is saying here. Right? Makes sense. But now she's going to do the same thing that she did before, where she's going to conflate this with sexuality, not just gender identity.
But the thing is, these studies have been conflated with sexual orientation. So all the people who take part in these studies, they are attracted to people who share their birth sex. So it's not clear whether these differences that we're seeing in white matter or in the connective tissue in the brain, whether that's due to being trans or due to being gay.
But she also knows that cis gay people don't have that. Like she went on over cis gay people's brain herself. That's true. So, hey, look, there we go. Also, all sorts of things. Because, yeah, you're right. She did mention earlier about gay brains. So she should know better. This one story I think I'm more willing to mostly because Micro brought it up before I got brought up.
So hopefully more research in the future will help us better tease this apart.
Thanks for your questions, guys. If you have any more, be sure to share them in the comments and subscribe to our channel.
We finished the video. Would you look at that? We did a thing. We got there. Goodness gracious. I don't know what to do with the last 17 minutes of the show. I'm not going to let them sit here and show themselves. We're going to end that super quick and whatnot. I don't want to get another video out because we have 17 minutes and it's going to take us more than 17 minutes to even get there. Thank you, Brian, for your $2 super chat. Hashtag telling this is a logic. We got there. We made it to the end. Thank you, us. We did fantastic. We should donate equal to them to WTI can become what the fuck. It's true. Oh, goodness. I do have another video by them that I will add for next week. So if you want more of We the Internet, the other one is also on trans individuals, mostly on trans kids, but it's more like it's a skit, it's a satirical, funny video by these people where it's pretty much like my kid identifies as a girl, and I'm gonna listen to her, and then someone else is like someone else is like, oh well, my kid identifies as a pirate, so I got him a costume to go along with it, and because helicopter jokes are so funny, it's fantastic. So that'll be added for next week. Need to update his gifts list to include more thick girls. Oh. We can do that. We can. I will go through the arduous trouble of finding thick girls to put on the list. But I think we're just gonna have to end early because I don't know what to do. We so rarely get to this spot. Yes, because giving kids a pirate costume is bad. No, because helicopter jokes. That's all. Oh, somebody else. I think it was Mango. Mango at some point asked for dudes, and I didn't get some dudes on here. We can get some dudes on here. We can definitely get dudes on here. We are not at all opposed to it. So we'll maybe we'll do that. Okay. So with all of this said, I think we're gonna end things there for today. So thank you very much, everyone who showed up to the stream. I do greatly appreciate you all being here. Thank you very much, Brian, for all your wonderful super chat donations today. I hope you enjoyed all the butts and boobs and whatnots. Super cool. Otherwise, have yourselves all a wonderful weekend. Don't forget to check out Christy Winters' channel if you want to hear Microbloganism and I do things and whatnots. Otherwise, I will see you all next time.